First up on our list, canned soups. Canned soups might not seem exciting, but when times get busy and are uncertain, they're absolute lifesavers. Packed with hearty ingredients, long shelf lives, and comforting flavors, canned soups are one of the first things people grab when they sense shortages. As we move closer to May 2025, supply issues and increased demand could make your favorite soups harder to find. Brands are already reporting slower production rates, focusing more on seasonal fresh items rather than long shelf life products. Plus, canned goods rely on metals like aluminum and tin. And guess what? Those materials are facing international supply chain delays again. That means even if there's enough soup being made, there might not be enough cans to put them in. Now's the time to stock up. Think about versatile options like chicken noodle, tomato basil, hearty vegetable, or even creamy mushroom. Not only are these soups ready to heat and eat, but they also serve as quick starters for bigger meals. Add pasta, rice, or extra veggies to stretch them into hearty family dinners. And here's a smart tip. Always check expiration dates and rotate your stock. Most canned soups last between 1 to 2 years when stored properly. So, the next time you see a sale or a well-stocked shelf, don't wait. Throw a few extra cans in your cart. Your future self will thank you when dinner time rolls around and the stores are looking bare. Next on the list, cooking oils, especially olive oil. If you love to cook, you know how important oils are. Whether it's sautéing vegetables, whipping up a salad dressing, or frying up your favorite comfort foods. But here's the thing. Global olive oil production has been taking a big hit lately. Poor weather conditions and droughts across major producing countries like Spain and Italy have caused serious shortages. As a result, olive oil prices are skyrocketing and supplies tightening. It's not just olive oil either. Shortages are impacting vegetable oil, canola oil, and even specialty oils like avocado oil. Without enough crop yields, manufacturers can't keep up with the demand. And by the time May 2025 rolls around, it's very possible that your favorite oils could be either very expensive or completely sold out. What can you do? Stock up now, but smartly. Buy a couple of extra bottles, especially if you use oils regularly for cooking or baking. Look for oils with a long shelf life. Unopened olive oil can last up to 18 to 24 months if stored in a cool, dark place. Another pro tip, you might also consider branching out. If olive oil prices soar, have a backup like avocado oil, grapeseed oil, or coconut oil ready to go. Remember, cooking oils are a foundation of countless meals. Without them, even simple dishes become a struggle. Don't get caught off guard. Grab your favorite cooking oils now before the shelves start looking emptier. Coming in at number 3, cereal. Whether it's a quick breakfast before work or a late night snack, cereal is a pantry favorite for millions of households. But heads up, cereal might be one of the next grocery items to become surprisingly hard to find. Major cereal brands are already warning retailers about tighter shipments. Plus, companies often shift production to their best-selling varieties when supply chains get tight, meaning your favorite specialty or seasonal flavors could vanish even faster. Major cereal brands are already warning retailers about tighter shipments. Plus, companies often shift production to their best-selling varieties when supply chains get tight, meaning your favorite specialty or seasonal flavors could vanish even faster. And it's not just about shortages. Prices are also expected to rise steeply as we get closer to mid-2025. That's a double whammy for shoppers who love keeping a few extra boxes on hand for busy mornings. If cereal is a staple in your home, now is the time to act smartly. Stock up on a few extra boxes of your go-to brands, and be sure to check those expiration dates. Most unopened cereals stay fresh for up to 6 to 12 months if stored in a cool, dry place. Want an extra tip? Consider grabbing a variety, from whole grain options to kid-friendly picks, to keep your pantry versatile. Once the shelves start looking empty, you'll be glad you thought ahead. Cereal may seem small, but trust me, It's the little things you miss most when they're suddenly gone. At number 4, we have baking supplies, especially flour and yeast. If you remember the shortages during 2020, you know how quickly these essentials can disappear from shelves. And as we approach May 2025, experts are warning that we could see another wave of baking supply shortages. The reasons? A combination of factors: poor wheat harvests, transportation delays, and increased demand from home bakers and small bakeries stocking up for spring holidays like Mother's Day. Flour, yeast, sugar, baking powder, and even pre-made mixes are all vulnerable. When supply chains get tight, these lightweight but high-demand items vanish almost overnight. Plus, even if manufacturers want to ramp up production, there's a limit. Growing and processing grains isn't something you can speed up instantly. If you enjoy baking, or simply want the flexibility to whip up pancakes, muffins, or fresh bread at home, now's the perfect time to be proactive. Grab an extra bag or two of all-purpose flour, some active dry yeast, and maybe a few baking basics like baking soda and cocoa powder. Flour can last up to 6 to 8 months in your pantry, and even longer if you store it in the freezer. Another bonus: if fresh bread or pastries become pricier in stores later this year, you'll have everything you need to bake homemade goodies at a fraction of the cost. So don't wait for the out of stock signs to pop up. Stock your pantry now with the baking essentials that keep your kitchen running smoothly. Coming in at number 5, shelf-stable milk, like almond milk, oat milk, and powdered milk. If fresh milk isn't available, whether due to shipping delays, rising prices, or seasonal shortages, shelf-stable milk becomes an absolute pantry hero. The problem? Demand for non-dairy and long-life milk alternatives is already soaring. More people are turning to almond, oat, soy, and even powdered milk, not just for dietary reasons, but for smart meal prepping too. Add in global supply chain hiccups for almonds and oats, and you've got a perfect storm for shortages. Plus, shelf-stable milk is a favorite for emergency preparedness kits, which means as people stock up for the summer, it's going to fly off the shelves faster than usual. So, why should you care? Because having a few cartons of shelf-stable milk in your pantry gives you incredible flexibility, from breakfast cereals to smoothies to baking recipes. And the best part? Shelf-stable milk can last 6 to 12 months unopened. Here's a pro tip: mix up your stash. Grab a few different types like almond milk for drinking, oat milk for baking, and powdered milk as an all-around backup. Trust me, when prices spike or supplies thin out later this spring, you'll be thrilled you grabbed your favorites early, while they're still affordable and easy to find. Don't wait for the scramble. Grab a few cartons today and keep your pantry strong and ready. At number 6, fresh produce, especially lettuce, spinach, and strawberries. Now, you might think fresh produce is always available, but that's about to change as we head toward May 2025. Thanks to unpredictable weather patterns, droughts, and increased farming costs, farmers are struggling to deliver consistent harvests. Crops like lettuce and spinach are especially sensitive. They need steady, mild conditions to thrive. Too much rain or unexpected heat waves can wipe out entire fields. Strawberries, one of the most popular fruits in the spring and early summer, are also vulnerable. Any disruptions in supply chains, like trucking delays or worker shortages, mean fewer strawberries hitting the shelves, and the prices can skyrocket overnight. Another hidden factor? Export restrictions. Some countries are limiting how much fresh produce leaves their borders to prioritize local markets, putting even more pressure on U.S. supplies. So, what can you do? First, start buying and freezing when you can. Spinach and strawberries freeze beautifully for smoothies and cooking. Second, consider switching to frozen vegetables or fruits when you notice your favorite fresh items getting scarce or pricey. They're just as nutritious and last much longer. And third, Stock up on shelf-stable options like dried fruit or canned vegetables to keep your pantry prepared for any shortages. Being smart about fresh produce now could save you a lot of frustration and money later. So, next time you shop, think ahead and grab those greens and berries while they're still abundant. Coming in at number 7, eggs. Eggs are a true kitchen essential. They're versatile, affordable most of the time, and used in everything from breakfasts to baking. But here's the catch. Eggs might become one of the hardest items to find as we get closer to May 2025. Why? Several reasons. First, poultry farms have been struggling with recurring outbreaks of avian flu. Each time a flock is infected, thousands, sometimes millions, of birds must be culled to stop the spread. This massively reduces egg production. Second, feed and transportation costs have skyrocketed. Keeping chickens fed, healthy, and delivering eggs to stores is more expensive than ever. And those costs are being passed directly onto shoppers. Finally, with spring holidays like Easter and Mother's Day coming up, demand for eggs always shoots through the roof. That's a perfect recipe for limited supplies and sudden price jumps. So what can you do? Simple. If you rely on eggs for daily meals, baking, or meal prep, plan ahead. Consider buying eggs when you see them available at a good price. And remember, fresh eggs typically last 3 to 5 weeks in the fridge. You can also explore powdered egg products for emergency use. They're not perfect replacements for everything, but they're great backups for cooking and baking when fresh eggs aren't an option. Bottom line, don't take those cartons for granted. Egg shortages can hit fast and hard. So be smart, stock up wisely, and keep your kitchen running smoothly no matter what happens. At number 8, bottled water. You might think bottled water is a basic item, something that's always around when you need it. But as we approach May 2025, we're starting to see disruptions in the water supply chain, and bottled water could become one of the hardest things to find. Here's why. First off, there's the growing global demand for clean, filtered water. As more people move to urban areas and face water quality issues in their local taps, the demand for bottled water is skyrocketing. But it's not just the demand. Extreme weather events, like floods and droughts, are affecting the production and distribution of bottled water. Whether it's the shortage of workers in warehouses or transport delays due to natural disasters, it's a perfect storm for empty shelves. What's worse? Bottled water production is heavily reliant on plastic. As the world cracks down on single-use plastics, manufacturers are facing higher costs and production limits, further driving up the price and cutting back supply. So how can you prepare? Stock up now, while prices are still reasonable. Buy in bulk, but make sure to store your bottles properly. You don't want them sitting in the sun or in a warm area, as it can degrade the plastic. You can also consider investing in water filtration systems at home. Not only will this save you money in the long run, but it'll also ensure that you always have fresh, clean water at your fingertips. But even then, grabbing a few extra cases of bottled water now might be the best insurance policy you can get. Because when the shelves run dry, you'll be glad you planned ahead. At number 9, coffee. For millions of people, coffee is more than just a morning ritual. It's a must-have to get through the day. But believe it or not, coffee is headed toward a shortage. As we approach May 2025, the effects of climate change, supply chain disruptions, and rising production costs are starting to hit the coffee industry. Coffee beans, especially Arabica beans, which are the most popular for brewing, are particularly vulnerable. They require specific growing conditions that are increasingly harder to maintain due to rising temperatures and erratic weather patterns. And in countries like Brazil, which is one of the largest coffee producers, severe droughts have led to poor harvests. On top of that, shipping delays, container shortages, and increased fuel prices are pushing up costs and delaying imports. This means the supply of coffee beans and your favorite bags or pods is likely to get even tighter. So, what can you do? First, if you're a coffee lover, now is the time to stock up. Look for sales, buy in bulk, And maybe even switch to a more affordable brand or store your coffee in a vacuum-sealed container to extend its freshness. You can also explore alternatives like cold brew concentrate or instant coffee. They take up less space in your pantry and can be just as satisfying when you need a caffeine fix. By preparing now, you'll avoid the stress of having to go without your daily cup. Or worse, paying a premium price when the shortages hit. And last but definitely not least, cheese. Cheese is a household favorite. Whether you're topping your pizza, making a grilled cheese sandwich, or snacking on a charcuterie board. But as we move toward May 2025, it looks like cheese could become harder to find and much more expensive. Why? There are several factors at play. First, the dairy industry has been hit by higher feed costs, labor shortages, and supply chain disruptions. This means that production is down, and manufacturers are struggling to meet demand. Second, the rising costs of milk and other dairy products are driving up cheese prices. Add to that a global shortage of certain specialty cheeses, such as Gouda, Brie, and aged cheddar, due to tight supply chains and increased demand, and you've got a recipe for a potential cheese crisis. And let's not forget the effects of climate change. Droughts, heat waves, and extreme weather have impacted milk production, making it harder for dairy farmers to keep up with the demand for milk, which is, of course, the base for cheese. So, what can you do? Start by buying extra cheese while it's still available. Hard cheeses like cheddar, Parmesan, and Gouda tend to last longer in your fridge, sometimes up to several weeks after opening. You can even freeze cheese if you buy in bulk. Just be sure to wrap it tightly to prevent freezer burn. Another option, explore non-dairy cheese alternatives like cashew cheese or soy-based options. These are great for people with dietary preferences or those looking for a backup in case dairy cheese becomes scarce. Don't wait until the shelves are empty or the prices are sky high. Stock up on your favorite cheeses now and ensure that your pantry stays cheesy and delicious.